it 1 more minute just to allow everyone to join the session. So let's just give everyone 1 minute to join. All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Dobisa Njona. I'm the Human Resources Director at LexisNexis, and I will be your program director for today's session. So I think just before we begin, just on the significance around Women's Day, Women's Month, I think for me, it's really around not only paying tribute to the over 20,000 women who marched years back, but it's also to say, let's look at all the achievements that have happened, but let's also take a minute to breathe and say what else is needed for us to pave this journey going further. So for those that have joined today's session and are new to this session, this is an event of the webinar series that we call the Women in Tech Conversations, and then we run it as LexisNexis in partnership with Dell Technologies. But it being Women's Day, or Women's Month, we decided to put a little bit of a spanner and a flair to it, and we've broadened it up to just reflect women in leadership. So today I'm really excited. I mean, I saw the lineup of speakers we have, and it's not only women, I must say it's leaders. I think that's how I view them. So I'm excited. They will come here, they will share their personal and individual life stories, their journeys, how they've navigated the space called leadership. So I must say I am excited to hear from them. But just before we go to the first speaker, some housekeeping rules for today's session. The session will be divided into 2 parts. We'll have a keynote speaker, and then after that, we will have a panel discussion, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. For the duration of the session, all participants will be muted, and this is with the exception of my speakers for the day. If you do have questions as the speakers are sharing, I think feel free to put your questions in the Q&A tab, and then let's use the chat functionality just for general commentary. I will, as the speakers go through it, just monitor what questions are being posed and then obviously pose it later on. So I need to introduce my keynote speaker for today. So this individual is a leader in her right. She's been in the field of human resources for over 27 years in various sectors such as manufacturing, ICT, telecoms, public and higher education. She's held senior and exec director roles for some of the most well-known corporates in South Africa, being it Daimler Chrysler, Vodacom, BMW. She's also been at SARS as well. She's very passionate about leadership, about strategy, employee engagement, talent management, transformation, and change. I really must say, this is a woman after my own heart. Hey? So I know she'll be sharing just her valuable lessons around navigating the space called leadership, how she's been able to transition these various spaces that she's played in, such as corporate, entrepreneurship, and government. So let me welcome to come and share with us Avril Williamson, the Director General of the Department of Corporate Affairs, Corporate Governance, and Traditional Affairs. Avril, over to you.
Good afternoon, and really, I'm so excited about being here this afternoon. So a real good afternoon to all the ladies and the gentlemen and all the distinguished panelists. It's really an honor and a privilege for me to be here to share my career journey with all the wonderful, incredible men and women who have not only inspired me, but have challenged me, sustained me, and really made this journey to such a platform also possible. So over the years, as I've navigated my way through the various complex and demanding environments, believe me when I say, and I know and understand a few things. One, survival. Second, renewal. And third, reinvention. As through this career journey, I was constantly having to adapt, change, and refocus my energy and my strategies. So as a woman leader in the workplace, there are very real challenges, and these range from unequal pay for work value, sexism, gender barriers, and having worked in many different settings and male-dominated settings, I have too personally experienced some hurdles that many women in leadership positions have had to face and endure. So it is a fact that women continue to face an unequal playing field in the workplace. The subtle discrimination is still very real, often resulting in not being treated fairly or equally. Encountering some common stereotypes such as women are more emotional and less decisive than men, or that women are emotional thinkers and thus less competent business leaders than men. Whereas men, if they are ambitious, their ambition is often considered as a strength, but women cannot rely on their ambition being perceived as a positive attribute. So women are still required to provide more evidence of competence than others. So our judgments will be questioned, we will be considered bossy or aggressive, but you know what? That's fine. Why? Because I have high expectations and nothing will change that. So as women, we therefore need to continue pushing boundaries. So while some of these mentioned hurdles have frustrated me greatly, they also have motivated me to surpass my goals and my dreams. So simply put, I refuse to be discouraged by low opinions and gender stereotypes. So whilst growing up, I knew that my purpose was not going to be limited to where I was born. I chose to step out of my comfort zone, not because I came from being privileged, but I knew I had to work twice as hard, play twice as hard, study. To being even a mother, I knew I had to step it up, raise my game in everything that I had to do. And this was the key navigator that I used, or barometer that I used, whether I moved from a public service environment into corporate, or from corporate back into public service, or whether I climbed the ranks. So I also knew that the possibility of me not winning was not an option, because in my own culture and where I come from, it was abundantly clear to me that failure just wasn't an option. There was no ways I could go back. So the support that I also gained from my family, and in particular some strong women like my grandmother, my mom, and my awesome and amazing sisters, I really give them all the kudos. This has really helped me to really navigate the workplace that I found myself in. So we as African women must continue to surprise and exceed our expectations, meaning that we must break through one glass ceiling at a time with grit and determination. So I want to quote my current boss, Minister Dlamini Zuma. She says, despite women breaking these glass ceilings every day, women still struggle to rise. They are denied opportunities for full participation in the economy and in politics. Close quote. The South African Women's Charter that was drawn up in '94 notes that at the heart of women's marginalization in South Africa are the attitudes and practices that, I quote, confine women to the domestic arena and reserve for men the arena where political power and authority reside. So the minister went on then to encourage the celebration of women and girls of today who are making extraordinary contributions daily. So these words of encouragement highlight the fact that we as women need to celebrate our achievements, for every day is a new day for us, not to be deterred or discouraged, but it is our opportunity to encourage and support each other. So as a woman, I believe in what I stand for. I enjoy a good challenge, and I seek to find meaning and purpose for each circumstance that I face and every opportunity that is given. So my passion for people gives me great satisfaction, as these are the very people who inspire me, encourage me, and even dare me to dream and achieve what seemed to have been impossible. During our recent virtual Women in Local Government dialogue that we also held on the 10th of August, we highlighted what one of our strong women and stalwart said. Her name is Charlotte Maxeke, and she actually said at the Council of African Women, and I quote her, "Kill the spirit of self and do not live above your people. If you can rise, bring someone with you." So as women, it's important for us to hold ourselves accountable on a number of things. And for me, I deem these non-negotiables. The first one, stay true to yourself and be your authentic self. Secondly, leadership requires vulnerability and honesty. And without them, you will never be able to influence those around you. Thirdly, play to your strengths, as it is essential when trying to overcome preconceived notions about how women should appear and act at work. Fourthly, be brave and be beautiful. Given my background, my successes have come from my vision and my values, which also include maintaining a high level of ethics and remembering my moral compass. My personal inspiration is drawn from getting away, even though I love people. Spending time in nature. To me, this is also really important. So in being a leader, I'm constantly reminded that the followers that I take along with me on this journey are very important, because as I take them along, I understand that there is an impact that I can have or make on their lives. So through my career journey, I've also learned the important things, and that is I need to have an understanding that women do bring distinct, diverse, and different perspectives to the table. That women's voices also need to be heard, and it often has to take considerable strength of character to be heard. That women also need to focus their needs on developing themselves and forming strong networks. And it's also important to create a healthy work-life balance. And that you need to focus on matters because you matter. And that the power of actually noticing another human being is really important, as it's the greatest offering that you can give to another person. So I've learned that each of us in this room are and can be celebrated by the stories that they have to tell. Because most times stories transcend generations, they transcend cultures and backgrounds. And at the core of every person is the fact that they would like to be heard. So take the time just to listen, guide, and elevate others, and most of all, make them feel appreciated. So this platform is therefore a way to inspire change to all those who believe that they have the ability to make a difference and to uplift other younger women whilst navigating their careers. And they can also take an approach that is an all of society approach in our workplace. Because in doing so, we bring that diversity and uniqueness in. So I believe that as I've addressed you here this afternoon, LexisNexis and Dell Technologies will continue to drive and encourage transformation in leadership through inspiring change that is inclusive of all women in society. So I'd like to leave you with a personal gift here this afternoon. And it's a poem that I have written myself. Yes, it is me. I'm nervous because I've not publicly actually said anything before about my poem, but I wrote it when I was on my journey to the North Pole, and I thought it would be apt for today. It's called Women of Work. So I'll take a sip of water, and I will say, here goes. Not defined by upbringing or genetics, very clear about their dream and who to be, unleashing their limitless potential with great value attributed to inner self and unique self. I never thought I would hear me say that I'm a one-of-a-kind girl, living up to the expectations of me. Of course, I am a woman of work, praising through positive thoughts and respect, only an abounding energy and spirit with no guilt and no shame, handling all of life's distracting events as opportunities. Is different an exceptional genius, a real person who people are attracted to, perfect or deemed imperfect. I never thought I would hear me say, I'm a one-of-a-kind girl, living up to the expectations of me. Of course, I'm a woman of worth. Reinventing, championing, and honoring one's work by telling the globe a positive, distinctive story. Being a person that matters and has no fears is great. Believing in, being free, and always being able to let go and let God. Just being a woman of worth until everyone sees it. I never thought I would hear me say, I'm a one-of-a-kind girl, living up to the expectations of me. Of course, I am a woman of worth. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Avril. I'm smiling. You've truly inspired change because you are a one-of-a-kind girl and a woman of worth. So thanks for that. But I think before I let you go, because I know you've got other commitments, just some of the nuggets I myself have pulled from what you shared. I think it's clear that the playing field is still unequal. You've mentioned that we as females must not be discouraged by low opinions and gender stereotypes. I loved the setup from I think it's your current boss, which says we must break through the glass ceiling, shatter it one glass at a time, but with grit. And I must say that's something I love about females. We do embody, we embody that. But I think before I thank you, I will close off with what you said, that if we can rise as females, then obviously let's bring someone along with us. So I think thank you for sharing that, because this is your way of bringing us along on your journey. So thanks, Avril, for your session. And I know you've got commitments, so if you will have to leave, we will excuse you. But should questions come later on in the session, I will make sure that you get those questions, and hopefully we'll see how we can go about in sharing some of the answers with the participants. So now, as we move along to the second session of today's discussion, so this one will be a panel discussion. I myself will not be facilitating the panel discussion, so I will introduce our panel facilitator. So this is none other than the CEO and chairperson of the LexisNexis board. She's a visionary of note, a change maker. She has over 20 or some odd years of corporate experience, spanning high-tech profile enterprises such as EDS, Microsoft, and Intel. She's run her own business at some point in life, and she was focusing around strategy and value creation. So what I like, though, about this business leader is some of the accolades. I mean, there's quite a lot of those, but I will pinpoint and share those that I think got my eye. So this change maker has really been noticed as one of the most influential business women in business government in the ICT sector in Africa. She is a Forbes change maker of note. She was one of the 50 most inspiring women in South Africa as part of a global initiative. And she's also recognized amongst Africa's 50 leaders in the data center and cloud space that are driving change in Africa. So I welcome the panelist facilitator, Videsha Proothveerajh. Videsha, over to you.
Hello, thank you, Govisa, for that very humbling introduction. I'm sure you guys are kind of sick and tired of hearing all about me, so we should not do it in future, because it's a little bit embarrassing at times. But you know, we must own what we are. So I have worked very hard to get to where I am, and I'm quite proud of my achievements. And like Avril says, you know, we need to own it. I am a woman of worth. I loved that poem. Thank you, Avril. That was so inspiring. I cannot believe that you penned that all by yourself. I think you have some hidden skill sets. And if, you know, a career in government doesn't work out for you, you definitely have a very lucrative career open to you in the publishing space as well. So thank you everyone for making the time today. It's always so nice, you know, to be able to just have a fellowship when it comes to hanging out with the girls and having a conversation and sharing and inspiring each other, and also just learning from each other as well. So our theme for today's for Women's Month really in South Africa this year is generation equality, which is about realizing women's rights for an equal future. When it comes to company leadership in South Africa, I think even across the world, it's no surprise that unfortunately we have a long way to go in terms of ensuring equality and to ensure that women indeed have an equal future with access to equal opportunity as well. So while we celebrate the many achievements and the many wins that we have had as women in the corporate space, we acknowledge that there still is a lot of work to do. And some stats that still are a little bit frightening to me are, you know, women currently only represent 10% of all CEOs in South Africa. Only 18% of firms globally are led by women. And on average, only 22.3% of board members in the OECD countries are women. Women only make up 36% of senior private sector managers and public sector officials. And really, women chair 11% of all companies. We do beat the G20 average, though, of 5.5% in South Africa. And however, PwC's latest report on the non-executive directors reports, it indicates that non-executives still remain largely white, 48%, and male for 71%. So some of those stats are quite astounding. Not surprising, because unfortunately it has been work that has been ongoing for many decades, and we are slowly chipping away at it. But I always say that if we had to wait for things to work itself out organically, we would be waiting for times that was long beyond the span of my life. And so it really is inspiring to sit around the table with women who have, like Avril says, really shattered those layers of glass ceilings. So we have women who have stood up and been counted. We have women who have ensured that they're creating a path for future generations to follow. And so I really am a strong believer of the competitive advantage that diversity, inclusion, and equity brings in the workplace. And it's really sad that these stats are so low, because there are many research reports that show that having women in corporate arenas, having women in senior management positions, in executive positions, in directorship positions, actually improves a company's performance. So as I always say, it's about the business case for equality, not just a socioeconomic cause. And I'm proud to say that at LexisNexis, we have really led by example. We are extremely proud to have been voted amongst the top gender-empowered companies in the business support services sector of Standard Bank Top Women Awards program. And we've been named a finalist in the 9th Gender Mainstreaming Awards for 2021. We have achieved, in the space of less than 2 years, 67% female representation on our board, 56% female representation in senior management, 43% in top management, and our employee survey shows that more than 83% of our workforce believes that LexisNexis is serious about diversity and inclusion. And so walking the talk is really, really important for us. And so we're quite passionate about partnering with like-minded individuals and organizations to shine a spotlight on how companies can benefit from the innovation that comes from having gender diverse leadership. We're therefore very, very, very honored and excited today to have with us 3 dynamic women leaders. And they are going to share with us their stories about their careers, their successes, their lowlights, and also any hurdles that they faced along the way. I always say that life is too short to make all the mistakes possible all by yourself. So let's learn from others. So before I get started on these wow bios, I want to have a little caveat up front. These bios really go on for pages, and all of the women on this panel are well decorated with many awards and achievements behind them. So do forgive me if I don't go through all of them. First up, we have Naomi Thompson. Naomi, if you could come on to video.
Hi, Videsha. Can you see me?
I can see Naomi. I always say every time I see Naomi, she always has the most beautiful smile. It's really impossible to be unhappy around Naomi. She comes with an amazing energy, which is quite contagious. So thank you for that. And so who is Naomi Thompson? Naomi is the Senior Vice President for EMEA Legal Solutions at Exigent. She operates at the intersection of law, business, and technology as a non-practicing lawyer, utilizing both her business and legal experience. After serving as an in-house legal counsel, she transitioned into a business role where she was the chief of staff for the group COO of a pan-investment company. So early on in her career, we could see that Naomi was on the move, ambitious and willing to learn and hoping to try something new. In her role as Senior Vice President, she focuses on legal innovation and transformation that is delivered through disruptive technology. Naomi has an MBA and an LLB from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, my alma mater. She was selected in the Mail and Guardian 2019 Women Changing South Africa in Law and Justice category, and was named amongst the top 50 individuals leading legal innovation in South Africa in 2020. She is the director for the Hill Innovation Hub for Southern Africa, which is the Hague Institute for Innovation of Law. She is also the founder of the Ndoto Foundation and an advisory board member for Sosolo education programs. Naomi, this is a lot of stuff. When do you sleep? What do you do? But really, she's also co-authored and collaborated on a book called The Next Stage Legal Project Management, Future-Proof Your Matter Management. And I could go on, but as you can see, Naomi is well decorated and she is really an amazing addition to our panel today in terms of sharing with us some of the things that are quite unique to her. I also find that, we put people on pedestals, and when you've achieved this much in life at such a young age, because it's quite clear that, you're in your 20s still, we forget that we're all human beings at the end of the day. And so maybe to just break the ice a little bit, Naomi, could you maybe share with us something that is funny about you? What is it that somebody would say to us that we would find a little bit humorous?
Oh, wow, I didn't prepare for that one. I was so ready to give you all the serious answers. I think I'll share something with you that someone asked me this morning. So my very close friends calls me Smurf or Smurfy or Smurfette. And that was, a few years ago, I was much smaller than I am right now. It's still my goal to get back to that size. And I have the most squeaky voice. And especially when I need attention, I'm able to say, please, are you able to help me with that? So that is the enduring voice for me. It just makes me human. And it's something that I own. I realize, some of those embarrassing words or names that people call you, just own it. And so, yeah, that's something funny, I hope.
Yeah, that makes you unique. And we think you're beautiful just the way you are. No need to change anything.
Thank
So Naomi, your leadership journey has been unfolding in an industry that is undergoing major technological transformation, driven by many factors. You know, the fourth industrial revolution brings with it its own challenges and opportunities. But in addition to this, and as you and I both know, the legal industry is typically associated with a particular leadership demographic, which remains entrenched even today to quite a large extent. So for you, it's almost a conflict of transformation on one hand and inertia on the other hand, and you're probably in the middle trying to traverse this. How have you managed to overcome the inherent challenges with this dynamic and have still managed to carve out an innovative leadership role within this industry?
Videsha, firstly, thank you very much for having me on the panel. And I'm really honored to be among such great and amazing women. And you own that bio of yours, because it's the one thing that us as women sometimes shy away from. We shy away from, you know, being spoken about or elevating our own voices, which men so easily are able to accept and go, thank you very much. And we do know that what people know of us is what they remember, and in a leadership role, it's one of the things I'm going to be speaking to the ladies about is own it. Own your achievements, speak about it, and let people know I've done XYZ, because while you're sitting, someone else will be sending that email and owning your achievements and go, oh, have you seen this project I delivered? And then you turn around and go, but I led that project. So we do need to own our voices, right? Getting back to your question, and I'm going to try to be brief, your stats is very sobering. If I think about the general industry, it is, those statistics needs to be changed, and we are part of that, and I'm glad that there are changes happening. But I think the legal industry, I'd love to see what those numbers are within our industry, because it is the multiple challenges and the few women that are in leadership. That's why I absolutely admire you leading a technology legal company and being one of the women that are powerful and owning it. There are multiple challenges that we have to overcome as women. Everything that Avril said, I am not, I've experienced all of that, from gender stereotype, from the gender pay gap. It was not easy. I have not overcome all those challenges. It's a journey, and it's a journey that I'm still going through, but I have found some tools that I was able to use. The one that I spoke about is learning to own my achievements and to speak about it and let people know about it. But the other thing I have done, I was seeking out a sponsor, and often my sponsors were male sponsors. It's the people that are speaking about you when you are not in the room. It's the people who mentions your voice when opportunities arise, when there is an increase for you. So find those sponsors, but also know where you want to go to, because a sponsor can't help you to get to a place that you don't have a vision for yourself, that you don't know where it is that you're going.
Well, thank you. I think there's so much in that. You know, I think sponsorship is something we really need to unpack a lot more, because there is definitely a space for mentoring and coaching. But like you say, having a sponsor, somebody that advocates for you when you're not in the room, is really key to being able to grow a career, especially in in an industry where, you know, traditional models are not necessarily amiable to women at the table. So that's really very valuable. Thank you. Next up, we have Thabile Nyaba, who is the president of IRMSA, the Institute of Risk Management in South Africa. Can we get a close-up of the beautiful Thabile? She always looks so colorful and so vibrant. Tabs, where are you?
Can you not see me, V?
Ah, there we are. See, I told you, Miss Colorful and Sunshine herself. I had the honor of sharing a virtual stage with Thabile. Was it last week already? And yeah, I think, Naomi, that's one of the reasons I'm actually sick of hearing my bio, because all through Women's Month, I've had to hear it at least once a day. And we jest about it, but it is, you know, once again, evidence of the lack of the number or volumes of female role models that we have in this industry, which leaves quite a big load for the rest of us to carry as well. And so, yeah, as I was saying, Thabile is always a breath of fresh, crisp air. And I think, with her taking over the helm of IRMSA, we're looking forward to, not that there's anything wrong with the current mindset, but I know she's going to be driving transformation and making sure that there is much more impact coming out of that organization, because that's what she's all about. So Tabile is the Chief Risk Officer at Old Mutual Insure, and she has extensive and practical experience in the field of GRC, internal audit, and combined assurance in private, public sectors and consulting. Once again, one of those girls that don't sleep at night. She is one of the first 10 certified risk management practitioners in South Africa and a certified internal auditor. When she has spare time between 2 and 5 in the morning, she has also managed to be the winner of the Risk Manager of the Year Award 2015 runner-up. And she and her team were winners of the Industry Initiative Award for Insurance and Reinsurance in 2019. She enjoys igniting passion from the organizations she works in and to derive a lot of value from risk management. Her greatest joy comes in spending time with her family and connecting youth with opportunities. And welcome, Thabile. I think it is so exciting to have you on this panel. I think you're the first person who has managed to make risk management look so exciting in my eyes. So well done on that. That's already an achievement that you've had. So I think for us to break the ice with you, I know you've also been quite busy in Women's Month, reflecting on your journey and sharing. Would you like to share with us one pearl of wisdom that you would give to your inner child, to the young Thabile, if you had to speak to her, maybe when you were in your teenage years, for example? What would you share with her?
Yeah, thank you, V. And, top of the afternoon to each and every one of you, ladies and gent that have dialed in. And thank you so much, V, for the invite. It is really such a great honor, for us to be part of the panel, just sharing our stories and learning from other women, but also from from those that have dialed in. It would be nice to hear from them too, because we also love to hearing everybody's stories. Yeah. So if I have to share one thing with the young Thabile, it will be you have to invest in yourself. I truly believe that when the egg breaks from outside, then the life ends. But when the egg breaks from inside, then the life begins. So we really need to invest in the personal mastery and development. That's the greatest investment. And I bet you, V, it's got the highest and the guaranteed high returns. We know that we say we can't invest because the higher the returns, the higher the risk as well. But this has got very low risks, but extremely high returns. So invest in yourself, upskill yourself. It brings change to your life and for those that are around you. And I also would say that in order for anyone or for the young one to even inspire others to become more, they have to work on becoming more themselves. I would also say, surround yourself with greatness, surround yourself with a future you. If you want to be a CEO of a company some years later, then start to surround with those people. If you want to be a mentor, for instance, then surround yourself with those people. So really, it will be surround yourself with the future you, and then just do you. Don't be scared of being who you are. I always say that each and every one of us are here for a reason. We're here on earth for a particular reason, and we're unique in our own ways. Let us not be scared of our uniqueness. Let us share it with the world. I also believe that, we are an unrepeatable miracle. Each and every one of us is. So let us share. Let us not deprive the universe to give us exactly that. Be yourself. Have your own rules, and just do you. Just be who you are, and it's okay. The world needs you as you are.
Absolutely. See, guys, I told you, you always get more than you ask for. You ask for one pearl, you got at least 6 there. Thank you for sharing.
We operate in abundance.
We are grateful for our abundance of abundance, ladies. So yeah, I mean, Thabile, I think if we look back at your career, you fulfilled many leadership roles. From your perspective, what are the leadership shifts that you think is necessary in order to lead for the future? You know, being the head of IRMSA is no easy task, because you almost need to be able to have a crystal ball and understand the future and, you know, be able to future-proof for it. How can leaders cultivate the skills and habits that are necessary to be successful leaders into the future?
Thank you, Avi. So it's the fact that we're operating in a landscape that is rapidly changing. And obviously, as the leaders, we need to evolve as such, and in order for us to be successful in leading our organizations who are going through all these different levels of transformation. So my view is that you don't have to know the future to lead into it, but we have got to be very comfortable with the chaos and all this uncertainty and the complexity that we're actually facing. So as leaders, we need to be resilient and we need to be agile as well. We have to shape the impact of all these changes that we are witnessing and that we operate in, rather than actually reacting from them. And I also believe that during these times of uncertainty, as you've just correctly mentioned, Vi, we need to be, as leaders, we need to be predictable. We need to be consistent and very certain. So in times of uncertainty, we, as the leaders, we have got to be very certain. And we also need to be a channel through which good things actually do come to others. And I believe that as the leaders, we have to understand that we don't build at the businesses, but we build the people who ultimately build the businesses. And the issue of IQ, I'm not even going to talk about that. That's a given. We need to have the right and the relevant IQ, but there are other cues or quotients that are coming through, like the emotional intelligence, the social intelligence, and even the digital intelligence. And we have to invest in things like that to make ourselves future fit. And also, you know, the future is now. It's not something that is happening so far out. It is now. So we need to understand what is happening even right now. And if you're a great leader, you can't be great just on your own. It needs to be reflected on the people that you lead. That is why then I always say, show me your team and I will tell you what type of a leader you are.
Wow, guys, that was very inspiring. Thank you, Thabile. I think, you know, so many pearls of wisdom in there as well, in terms of, you know, personal mastery. That's really important for us. And being a channel for good, you know, we say, pay it forward, pull others as you move up. You know, so many things that are required. And it is, guys, it is like Thabile said, we have to invest in ourselves. Some of these skill sets are not something that, you know, you just pick up a shelf or you read in a book. You have to practice and you have to be willing to fail and learn from those failures. That's what makes leaders, good leaders, great leaders, where you're willing to reinvest and reinvent yourself as you move through your career. So thank you for that. And then last but not least, we have Leah Molatselli, who is an admitted attorney of the High Court in South Africa with more than 10 years of experience in the legal industry. When I think of Leah, I always kind of, there's a song that goes on in my head. It's like, sisters are doing it for themselves, because, you know, here's one of our own who is driving that entrepreneurship journey, which is not an easy journey. For any of you that have run your own business, it is not for the faint-hearted. You have to have a lot of courage, a lot of guts, a lot of tissues, and a shoulder to cry on quite often. So Leah is the co-founder of Lenoma Legal, which is a virtual legal tech startup offering legal services and documents using innovative tech in South Africa and Lesotho. So this sister is not just bound to South Africa, she's going across the regional boundaries as well. She is a strong believer in access to justice and the rule of law, and with all her might, and her work is geared towards this mission as well. And, you know, Leah, I've got so much more to talk about, but, you know, I always find that you bring it. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to you know, being an entrepreneur is a different animal. It's kind of hard to build correlations between having a job in corporate and then, you know, being an entrepreneur. So share with us something quite real, something very, you know, what has been maybe one of your lowest moments that you've ever had as an entrepreneur?
Ah, there are many. Where do I start? You know, I think when we don't, I wish someone had told me what it was like before I started, because, you know, obviously in order to encourage entrepreneurship, the world will tell you, you can do anything, go change the world. I mean, in the legal tech industry, go disrupt the industry, change how things are going. But for me, I think in truth, the lowest was, I think 2 months back. It was very recent. I couldn't even wake up, you know, get out of bed. It was that hard. You know, my co-founder did something and I'm like, okay, you know what? It's been 5 years and I've given my blood, my sweat. Literally, Lenoma stands for all my names. Leah, Nonoma, Mara, like that's how personal it is, you know? And I was like, you know, I need to choose. Am I still going to pursue the dream at the expense of my mental health, my family, my children, or am I going to do something else? So it was hard, yeah, if I can put it that way. But I'm alive.
Thank you for sharing and for being, yeah, thank you for willing to share and being so vulnerable. I think, you know, sometimes it is very real. Things get very real when you're out there. And so, but look at you, you're still shining and glowing today. So the sun always comes up the day after, and there's always something to look forward to, right?
Always.
So Leah, as a young attorney, you had to navigate many factors, you know, your gender, your race, etc., in a very male-dominated industry, and one that has been quite resistant to change in technology, right? This industry is putting up a fight, ladies, but we will win the battle. Yet you still look at this challenge of bringing together the elements of legal tech and being a startup when you founded your own company. And to add to this, you're doing all of it in a relatively small town. How have you dealt with the often pervasive, I'd say, imposter syndrome that plagues so many women in leadership today, especially for young women leaders?
It's twofold. You know, that whole fake it till you make it. So I'm very accomplished. I do a lot. You know, I get a bunch of awards. And so in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily I want to be seen. It was just a form of external validation for me to keep going. And then once I realized, but that's actually not me. You know, when you strip away all of those accolades, there needs to be a center to hold me. And once I did introspection, you know, that's when I realized that, oh, I'm actually amazing at what I do. And because sometimes you're stuck in a silo, and because you're not sometimes talking enough to different people, you tend to isolate yourself and you don't realize how much you know. And because, you know, imposter syndrome is such a difficult thing, it's a fickle thing, because you think, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. You know, I'm a mom to 3 kids. I live in Bloem. I'm challenging, you know, this industry. Like, what am I doing? But the more you constantly keep telling yourself that, hey, I'm amazing. And, you know, sometimes it seems conceited, but honestly, you know, my updates on social media, when I say you're amazing, I'm actually not even talking to people. I'm talking to myself. Yeah, you know, that constant reaffirmation to say that you are actually good at what you do. And I back it up with facts. So you back it up with the work that you do. So it's not some wishy-washy type of work to say, oh, I'm amazing. No, I can back it up with facts. I can back it up with numbers. Because sometimes, in as much as we as women, you know, function differently, but especially in the entrepreneurship world, numbers talk. So if you cannot be able to speak the numbers game, speak the business language, you also need to decide for yourself, like, what do you want? So for me, that was really owning myself and saying, listen, I've done a lot. I graduated after having twins. I got admitted at 24. I was the first attorney in my family. I left corporate when I was 27. I started, this ridiculous legal tech startup. I've won international awards. I am amazing. And that's it.
And you are. Take a bow. I think it's so important for us to own our amazingness. And it's back to what Naomi was saying when I started, it's like, own that bio, because it didn't just fall out of the sky, ladies. It took hard work. And, I think for many of us, we have to do more because we're always constantly having to prove ourselves. So it's not an easy feat. I see we have a question. And before I get to the question, I think, Leah, you touched on a very important topic at the moment, which is about mental health and, overall well-being. I think, the industries we work in, there's so much of change going on, but you add to that, the pandemic of COVID-19, you add to that the civil unrest that we've, had to undergo. You add to that the fact that, many of our norms have been turned on our heads. We're all working from home. I mean, who would have thought 2 years ago that, working from home would be something that would be so common? But it brings with it also some challenges. So Naomi, maybe, and we'll pass this question through all the panelists. Share with us some of your thoughts around mental well-being and emotional well-being, and what do you do to help yourself and your teams to ensure that, you're keeping psychologically safe, mentally safe, physically safe, etc., so that you can be productive in the environment that you live in and work in?
Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry, Naomi.
No worries, Leah. I love you. Don't worry. Videsha, this is such an important question, right? And I think for me, I 100% relate to what Leah has said. Around all the challenges that we have, and then you still add the additional burden that is being placed on women, because we traditionally carry that burden of the family, of taking care of the family, and often it is extended families as well that we need to take care of, plus run this career, and now you bring that all into your home, and it really just exacerbates what we're going through. Yes, I'm always smiling and happy, and I'm that person that wants to be there and listen to others. But over the last 2 to 3 years, I've really struggled with some of the challenges that I was facing. I take care of my elderly parents who live with me in the home. My mum got dementia during COVID, having to deal with that, and then still getting sick and having lost my mum just very recently as well. Just all added to, how do I deal with this? What is it that I do? And I have learned that it's okay not to be that strong woman. And when you own your vulnerabilities, and when someone asks you, how are you? And you say, I will be okay, but right now I'm struggling. It gives other people it opens the door, and it gives them the right to talk to you as well. And then we say, you know what, let's talk about this. I may not be able to do anything about it, may not be able to change it, but I'm giving you the platform to be able to be true and honest. Even with clients of mine, often they'll tell me, oh my, and we just spoke about this in the beginning of it, right? Often the kids would come into the room, and then I want to talk to the kids or the dogs. And it's actually us being human in our work environment. And being in the offices has taken the humanness away. We always wanted to be fully dressed up, fully, I've got this, I've got everything under control. And you know what? We don't have anything under control. And if your teams know that it is okay to do that, then it's fine. And then lastly, I have an incredible support system. I have friends that are like my family, who we've gone through various journeys of our lives that can support you. So use your support system and talk about it, and don't pretend that I'm okay and everything is fine.
Thank you. That is very, very powerful. I think, well, we have many titles as women, and it comes with many roles and responsibilities. And I love, we say own your awesomeness, but own your vulnerabilities as well. And then you give others permission to be vulnerable. And I think if one thing that COVID is brought to the work environment is that it's okay to be human, and I do it, and I think I find, the women on my exec team, when we're like having a meeting and a kid walks in, they're like, hi, how are you? Kiss, kiss, hug, hug. And I think it's important because it's real. This is who we are. And, the support system, absolutely, guys. It's what has enabled many of us to do things that is really impossible if you think about it. So thank you for that. Tabs, tell us your thoughts on mental well-being and emotional well-being and wholeness, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can subscribe to what Naomi was saying, indeed, own your vulnerability. One of the other things that personally I do, I live a life of gratitude. And it's not because things are working so well for me, but it's the choice that I make every day to be grateful for the smallest of things. For the fact that I was able to wake up, I'm counted amongst the living. It's something for me to be grateful for. I even go to an extent of saying I am able to walk on my own to the bathroom without any assistance and things around me. So that's a gift of health that I need to be grateful for. I can spend the first 15 minutes when I wake up, when I open my eyes, literally, when I open up my eyes, I spend about 10, 15 minutes just being grateful for what is happening, for the fact that I've got my husband right next to me, waking up to me, healthy as well. I've got the loving children, I'm surrounded by love. Even if you go to things that are outside, there are trees that are giving you, the shade, the smallest of things. That for me, that is what has actually kept me going, to just live that life of gratitude without being ignorant to what is actually happening. The second thing is definitely outsourcing. I am an outsourcer of note V. I am not a superwoman and I don't aspire to be one. There are things that I can do myself and things that I can't do. Other things that I can't do, I give it to somebody who's good at. So I outsource a lot of things. And because I believe that it's really not about all these hats that we're actually wearing. It's the life that we're living with these hats that we've got on. So those are basically some of the things that actually keep me going. I'm a big meditator. I love meditating a lot. I pray a lot. I spend time with my loved ones, as you already said. That is where then it's my family is crazy. I've got the craziest family, so that is where then I actually revive and get my energy from, and really ultimately just to live that life of gratitude and just giving yourself. That is one thing that I do. It gives me so much satisfaction when I give myself to other people. Hence, then I mentor quite some few people. I mentor, like some youth and women, and even some of our male counterparts. I do that because you know what? When you give, you actually you receive more. So that is basically what I do, just to also just invest in that, living the life of gratitude. Be grateful for the smallest of things.
Yeah. We always say you got to fill your cup, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. So it goes back to what you were saying, invest in yourself. Your mental well-being, your emotional well-being is really important. And I so agree, it's like we're sisters from different mothers, an attitude of gratitude is so important, guys. And, Tabile was saying sometimes it's hard, you wake up and you have awful thoughts, or you've had a bad day, or you have slept for 2 hours, speaking from experience here, you know, you wake up and you find it. There is always something to be grateful for. You know, some days I have to go all the way down to, oh, I'm so grateful for this amazing pillow that I have. That, you know, afforded me a great sleep. But you know, small things, big things, spend a few minutes. It really comes back in abundance. And I think tools like meditation, like you know, some people invest in physical exercise because it's a stress reliever for them. Find those tools that speak to your soul, that gives you a sense of peace. It's really important. And like Thabile said, you know your energy triggers. What are the things that fill you with passion, that makes you happy? What brings you joy? You know, invest in understanding that and gravitate towards that as far as possible. It's what you have to do to fill up that cup, so that when the bad days come, and guys, it comes, you know, everybody has them, you've got enough to keep you going.
You know,
Leah, tell us a little bit about your thoughts. I can see Leah's like, oh, I want to get in there, jump.
Yeah, you know, I was about to chime in to say sometimes, particularly in corporate and more so in a startup world, you have to keep going, right? Something bad happens and you have to keep going. You have to smile. Like for example, today something was wrong with the kids, but I showed up. You show up, you smile. But the problematic thing about doing that, and what often impacts our mental health, is that you don't live in the moment. You don't take ownership of whatever that you're feeling. And the moment you feel like that, I feel like that's when you lose it. Because when you don't face whatever you're going through, at some point, it'll catch up to you. And when it does, it'll come at you at the most unexpected time, when you think everything is on point, you're supposed to continue, and then bam, you get slapped in your face. So I think for me, the biggest lesson in terms of dealing with this is own my emotions. If I'm not okay, be not okay, and then move on. You know, if you need to cry, cry, and then move on. That's the only way you can actually continue.
That emotional guidance system is really important, right? It's that we talk about that gut feel. You know what you're feeling. So owning it is really important, because there's also a need for release and closure. And feeling is a great thing, guys. It's what, us as ladies, we actually do really well. We just feel our way through things. I actually, I say to people, it doesn't feel right, or you don't feel happy, and they look at you funny. They're like, what is this one going on about? But it is a strength. It is a strength to be able to feel.
Sorry,
guys,
Gobisa, I think please go on mute.
So yeah, I think, guys, take care of your mental well-being. Any investment you make in that is, and if you need help, like Naomi said, it's okay to be vulnerable. Reach out. You have 80 some odd people on this call. Reach out to one of us. This is an open invite in terms of, if you feel your mental well-being is is in a place that you don't want it to be at, please reach out. The worst thing that you can do is to sit back and fester and not let it out. So it's really important to take care of that. So yeah, guys, we have a few more questions. So let me get to the questions. I love to talk, let's actually do what I'm meant to do. Like, my job is to facilitate. So there's a question from Michelle. What are the most important things you feel women should focus on in the modern workplace? Tubbs, do you want to maybe take that one?
Yes, thanks, V. I think maybe I'm gonna sound like, this thing, I've been saying it over and over, Firstly, it's for me, just know who you are first. We're given all these titles, but if these titles are stripped of us, who are we? Who is Tabile? you know, except for Tabile as being a mother, as being a wife and a sister, the daughter, you name it, but who is she? So we really need to invest in knowing ourselves. Like I said, in order for us, you know, to impact or inspire somebody else, it all has got to start with you. We talk about breaking the glass ceiling. You know, some of these glass ceilings, we've got them ourselves, you know, because you could be an executive sitting in the highest of positions, but you've got this glass ceiling that is inside, you know, the internal glass ceiling in the form of what Leah spoke about, you know, imposter syndrome. You've got this fear, you've got your voice is squeaky, you've got this confidence, you feel like you're not adequate. It's like you are where you are by luck. So you've got all of those things that you need to be fighting. So you first have got to break that internal glass ceiling before we could actually try and break the glass ceiling outside. I believe that the people, especially women, that would be able to drive and break the external glass ceiling, because we do have those. We're definitely still facing those challenges, the inequality. We've just spoken about generational inequality. The other one that is coming up that I'm very passionate about is the digital inequality. All right, that's going to be a big one that is coming through. The other one is the vaccine inequality, as an example. So those are the things that keep on adding into this inequality. But the people that are going to win the war, the external wars, like those ones, are the ones that are able to win their internal wars firstly.
So true. Know thyself. Hey, understand what's going on internally before you're able to master your environment.
And it shows
Leah,
out.
yeah, it does. Leah, we have a call for mentorship from Andile. Andile is also an aspiring entrepreneurship, and she wants to, you know, go down this courageous path of entrepreneurship. So, Andile, Leah, maybe we can figure out how we link the two of you. But it's an important point, guys. Look for role models. I always say it's important that you see yourself mirrored, you know, in wherever you want to go. And so it's really difficult for young women, old women, women who can't see themselves, whether it's race, color, thinking patterns, you know, all the forms of diversity that exists. We need role models out there. And so when you do get to the point where you're in a place of leadership, do make yourself available to be able to give back, because we don't have enough of those role models currently. And so, I mean, I think I'd like to end on a high. I'd like to understand, ladies, what advantages or competitive advantages do you think being a woman has given you in your career? Let's start with Leah.
I think, okay, on a serious note, it's probably, maybe there's a study out there, but I've always believed that women actually have a high emotional intelligence than men. So we have a keen understanding of people, you know, and because of that, we're able to navigate people. And because honestly, you know, when you're running a business or when you're in a position of leadership, sometimes when you want to get to your end goal, sometimes it's not necessarily that the person doesn't want something to happen or doesn't agree with you. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're distracted. But if you're not aware, you know, of them, if you do not have the emotional intelligence to understand how to navigate with people, then that becomes a problem. On a lighter side, I think being a woman, you know, the fact that we're pretty helps. I know this is very... We're not supposed to say
Careful, Leah, careful.
We're not supposed to say this, but sometimes our leadership roles and the way that we have been taught has always been, do not own your femininity. Don't dress up, don't put on makeup, don't put on your eyelashes. But honestly, when you feel beautiful, when you feel amazing, you actually perform better. So why not? And that is our niche. And sometimes that's actually even a conversational breaker. And you know, women, you get into a room, oh, I like your top. Oh, I like your top too. Hey, there's a connection. Like it becomes that simple. So yeah, those are my two things.
Thank you, Leah. Naomi, what are the things that have set you apart as that stem from you being a woman?
Sure. So I agree with Leah around emotional intelligence as well. But I think for me, and you touched on it early about women having an intuition, right? So we have all these skills that we were taught. We have our education. But in addition to that, you'd sometimes just say something doesn't feel right. And being able to follow your intuition in conjunction with what you understand for strategy. Maybe you want to do an acquisition, but there's just something that doesn't feel right. Being able to use that in combination and owning your intuition gives you that additional competitive advantage. And another thing for me is the two that goes hand in hand, adaptability and resilience. Because women have got all these additional burdens that's placed upon us, right? From a young age, we had chores at home, we had stuff that we needed to do while the boys were out running. We were groomed in our society to adapt to different situations. And we see all these challenges that have been thrown at us in the corporate environment. Yet we overcome it. We look at, okay, so you know what? There is a gender gap barrier. How am I going to overcome that? What am I going to do? You fight for what you want to be able to get onto the other side. And sometimes we do it quietly. You know what? You strategically just understand where it is that you want to get yourself to. And you take those very challenges thrown at you and you work it around to be able to benefit women in general.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is some pearls of wisdom out there. And last but never least, Tabs, what do you have to leave us with?
One of our strengths, V, is actually building communities or tribes of families. You know, it's inherent in us. So we should be able to use that. You know, we should be able to use our the internal instincts of even spotting greatness in people that we lead, for instance, or the people that we work around with, because that is one of the things that makes or break a leader. You should be able to unleash that greatness in your people, and the joy and the success of a leader is when they develop more leaders. It's when some of their people that never even believed in themselves starting to believe in themselves. They grab their space in the universe. They just come alive. You know, it makes your job even easier as a leader. So I believe that us as women, we've got that in us. So let us build more tribes. Let us build more communities. At work, let us be the support structure for one another. You know, in our communities, let us be the support structure for one another, and let us just keep on building and solidifying these tribes of women, or the tribes of employees, or the tribes of the communities, whatever you name it, that are actually able to take something and give it to the generations that are after us. Because remember that currently we're standing on the shoulders of the giants that fought different types of fights. So it is our responsibility right now to fight a fight and have something in our hands that we'll be able to give to our next generation. So the question to all of us is, what do you have in your hand that we'll be giving to the generation that is coming after us?
Thank you. Some accountability there. Hey, you better make sure you're doing some work with impact and you're bringing others along as we go. And Gobisa, I'm really sorry because I always run over. So, you know, if I even tried to summarize this conversation, I would do it no justice. But ladies, I just want to say thank you. It has been awesome and my cup runneth over. Gobisa, let me hand over back to you.
Thank you, Videsha. And I think thanks to all the panelists. I mean, the last question had me thinking. I mean, based on just the answers that you guys shared, it made me go to this thought. I think it's an African saying that watinta bafazi, watinta mbokodo.
Yeah.
And translated in English is that you strike a woman, but you strike a rock. But it's true testament to the courage, the resilience, and the strength that a woman has. So I just thought about it as you guys were just unpacking the answer to the last questions. So in closing, and as I thank my panelists, I think some of the few things I took, I think, Naomi, I loved the let's own it. It's just 2 words, but it carries a lot. with it. So I really, really took that from your from what you shared with us. I think Thabile, I mean, if I saw, I think I just also looked at some of the comments after you spoke, but I think I love the fact that let's invest in ourselves. It's a low risk, high returns game. I think I like that, but I think more so I like the fact that said, let's surround ourselves with the future. So I do think that that's quite good. And Leah, tell yourself you're amazing. You're good at what you do, but also back it up with facts and some data. So those are some of the key nuggets that I think I took. But I think, ladies, thank you very much for joining today's session of the LexisNexis and Dell Technologies Women in Leadership webinar. So hopefully we'll collaborate in other future sessions in later times. And for all the participants of today, thanks for indulging us and indulging this panelists today. I hope you've taken some valuable lessons. I saw there's some LinkedIn connections that are going to happen. I know some people will reach out to our panelists, and I am told that there will be a webinar made available a few days later. So thanks everyone, and stay safe.